While we wait to see what is in Special Counsel Mueller's report, the action moves to Capitol Hill. As we heard, there was a bipartisan push from the House Judiciary Committee for the Justice Department to detail why it began investigating President Trump for obstruction of justice. The top Republican on that committee, Representative Doug Collins of Georgia, joins us now from Capitol Hill. Congressman Collins, thank you very much for joining us again on the NewsHour. First of all, I want to ask you, are you satisfied with the summary we've received so far by the Attorney General of what's in the Mueller report, or do you want to see the whole thing?
Well, the summary outlines what's in the Mueller report. I think sometimes we make a distinction, and the Attorney General made it very clear. This was the top line. This was what the report actually said and what the report actually did. So number one, it showed there was no collusion. In fact, it went even to the further step in the letter. It said that even though they were contacted on several occasions, the Trump campaign rebuffed those attempts. And it also says that they could not come, the top prosecutors that Mueller could find could not come to a conclusion on anything about obstruction. And then they said, the Attorney General, to say, you look at it, you decide, and him and Rod Rosenstein decided that there was nothing there was no obstruction. So I think you start with the starting point of the top lines. He is now in the process of getting us the rest of the report, and we're looking forward to seeing that.
Do you agree with Senator Mitch McConnell, the majority leader in the Senate, who yesterday said he's prepared to block a resolution that would call for the full release of the Mueller report? Do you agree that's correct?
It depends on what we're talking about a full release. Let's go back to what the Attorney General said. He would release everything that he legally could. In fact, in the House just a couple of weeks ago, and some of my Democratic friends wanted to say that they voted for something different, but what they actually voted for was to do exactly what the regulation required. And that was that Bill Barr get the report. He is not to include classified information, 6E, or grand jury information, or ongoing investigation material that could come forward. Other than that, he was going to provide everything he possibly could to the Hill. I think that is what probably the Senate Majority Leader is talking about, what we've talked about, and what Democrats are on record is voting for in the House to make that report. Now that it came back with something they don't like, now they're trying to get everything else.
Well, let me ask you about what some Republicans, and in fact what the president is calling for, that is for there now to be an investigation into the origins of the Mueller report, of the origins of this investigation into the president. Is that necessary now after what Mr. Mueller's been through?
This is not a new investigation. I need to remind the viewers, and also the things that we've been doing over the past few weeks, is we have been releasing transcripts. We started with Bruce Ohr, we went to Lisa Page, Peter Strzok, and today we did George Papadopoulos. And this was an investigation in the last Congress between the Judiciary Committee and the Oversight Committee on the investigations that started all the way back with the email investigations that came through the original Russia investigations, which led us to the Mueller investigation. What we're looking at here is you need to understand the corruption and the problems that were at DOJ and the FBI through the cabal of McCabe and Strzok and Page, and with the assistance of Ohr and Baker and others that actually got us to where we are now. If you have to understand the beginning to understand the end. So what we're looking for is saying, let's make sure that it doesn't happen again. And Bill Barr has said he's willing to look into that. He said that in his confirmation hearing. We're providing that for transparency's sake for all the Americans to see exactly what these folks had said.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, all those individuals you cited are now gone from the Justice Department or the FBI. What is the purpose then of the investigation?
Well, Bruce Ohr is not gone. He is still there. And the question comes is, how did this allow it to happen? Was there a politicization in the last administration, starting back with, frankly, an email investigation involving a presidential candidate at the time, that in which the Attorney General had already said, and we see that from Lisa Page's transcript, that said that we're not going to go down a gross negligence claim here. We're actually going to say that it was a different standard. In other words, saying we're not going to find her guilty even if we found her guilty, even before we interviewed her. That's the Department of Justice leaning on the FBI. What we're saying is, does that still exist? Bill Barr is in your department. Is there still a politicization that could cause this to happen again?
So essentially, you're calling for further investigation. Is this something you think your constituents in Georgia support?
My constituents in Georgia and all across this country, Judy, support the truth. What they have just found is the truth of the Mueller investigation. And since when is it wrong for Congress to pursue and oversight something that affects everybody? there's not a person in this country that does not, Democrat, Republican, Independent, or no political view at all, that does not want their Department of Justice and their FBI to be blind to carrying out the law to no matter who they are or what status they had. What we found was a two-tier justice system, one for basically Hillary Clinton and others, and then one for candidate Trump. Even when Russia was interfering, we saw the hacking that was going on, but they chose to focus on a campaign and not the Russians. This is something that we need to look at, and I do believe people want the truth.
And just in a sentence, you're saying you don't have confidence that Mr. Barr is in charge of a Justice Department doing work that you can trust?
That is not what I said. I said I believe Bill Barr will get to the bottom of what is going on at the Justice Department and restore its integrity after the previous administration and others had brought that down.
All right. Representative Doug Collins, thank you for joining us.
Judy, thank you. It's good to be with you.
We appreciate it.